The silver glint of a surgical scalpel sliced through the air, flashing inches from my eyes. My breath hitched, lungs seized. The word on the street? I'm finished. Dead in the water. Why? Because I treated the newly returned heir of the Sinclair dynasty, Elian, like a common house servant. I remember the day I purged him from my life. I tossed his luggage onto the driveway of the Sinclair estate like it was trash. My voice was ice. Know your place. I'm getting married. You're out. Game over. Thud. The muffled sound of my bodyguards hitting the floorboards downstairs. Elian stood in the bedroom doorway. His hands that wielded scalpels with godlike precision, were covered in fresh, jagged cuts. He stalked toward me, cornered me against the edge of the bed. I braced myself. I expected those cold, surgeon fingers to wrap around my throat, to squeeze the life out of me for the humiliation I put him through. But they didn't. Instead, his hands flew to his face, trembling, covering his weeping eyes. How could you? His voice cracked, raw, shattered by a grievance so deep it vibrated in the air. You used my body. You took everything. And then you just say you're bored? The Sinclair family recovered their lost son 20 years later. For some reason, they kept it quiet. No press release, no gala. I treated it like tabloid fodder. Mildly amusing background noise, until Clementine shoved a phone in my face. The photo on the screen was grainy, but the subject was unmistakable. A man in a simple white tee and black slacks sitting in the Sinclair's gilded, gold-leafed ballroom. He looked stiff, uncomfortable, like a minimalist painting hanging in a Baroque museum. But that face, bone structure carved by angels. Even the shaky camera work couldn't ruin those features. Look, Clementine said, her manicured nail tapping the glass. My eyes don't lie. Even though you kept him hidden, and I've only seen him once or twice, that's him. The long-lost Sinclair heir is your little doctor, Elian. Who else could it be? He hated the bespoke suits I bought him, refused to wear them. He lived in his hospital scrubs. That logo on his chest was practically a birthmark. I scanned the photo. When was this taken? Last week. Heard he already changed his legal ID back. Last week. The corner of my mouth twitched into a dry smile. I thought he just hadn't found the right time to tell me. Turns out, he never planned to. I flashed back to this morning. Him standing in the foyer. Cold, distant, beautiful, zero tells. No glitches in the matrix. I didn't panic. I didn't send someone to verify the intel. I didn't even text Elian. Compared to the 9-figure merger I was holding in the palm of my hand, this was static. Clementine swiped left. Next photo. A girl in a vintage Chanel miniskirt, hanging off Elian's arm, beaming like she won the lottery. I didn't even blink. Clementine retracted the phone. You know what the streets are saying about you? She pitched her voice low, mocking the high society gossip circle. Octavia Montgomery is toast. Even her dad has to bow to the Sinclairs. And she kept their prince as a pet? She's done. I took a sip of my drink. If they love talking so much, tell them to say it to my face. Clementine laughed, dramatic as always. My queen, messing with you is messing with the Montgomery group. Give them 10 times the gut, and they still wouldn't dare whisper a word in your presence. She winked, leaning in. But I heard you made him kneel in public to buckle your heels. Everyone saw. And now, the poor boy is a king. That's complicated. I swirled the wine in my glass. It tasted flat, watered down, intoxicating, but in all the wrong ways. My eyes snapped open. The car was idling in front of the villa. I stared out the tinted window at the blazing lights of the house. Who authorized this detour? Frank gripped the steering wheel, his knuckles white. You've been staying at Mr. Elian's place recently. I assumed. I didn't let him finish. I shoved the door open and stepped out into the night air. I moved silently. My stilettos sank into the plush carpet of the foyer, muffling the sound of my arrival. But the moment the front door clicked shut behind me, the study door on the second floor opened. I didn't look up. I walked straight to the living room and collapsed onto the sofa. Elian was there in second. He didn't speak. He just knelt at my feet. His long fingers went to work, deftly unbuckling the straps of my heels. The lamp cast a sharp shadow across his face. He kept his eyes lowered. His lashes brushed his cheekbones. His white dress shirt was undone at the top. 2 buttons, just enough to reveal the sharp, hollow lines of his collarbones. He radiated a cold, sterile beauty. But right now, on his knees, that clinical detachment twisted into something almost bewitching. I dug my bare toe under his chin and forced his head up. He didn't resist. His jawline was a razor's edge against the soft arch of my foot. He exposed his throat to me, letting me inspect him like a piece of livestock. Perfect nose, sculpted brows, a face that could launch 1,000 ships or ruin a dynasty. Did someone upset you? He asked. His voice was low, gravelly. Elian was terrible with words. He couldn't charm his way out of a paper bag. He just stared at you with those intense, empty eyes. The alcohol I downed earlier was starting to hit, a dull heat thrumming in my veins. I slid my foot from his chin down to his thigh. I pressed my heel into the firm muscle. Are you clean? Elian's hand froze on my ankle. Body is clean, he said, his voice steady. I'll carry you upstairs. Then I'll wash up. Is that okay? Maybe it was the hunger in my eyes. He didn't waste time. 3 minutes. That's all it took. When he came out of the bathroom, the white shirt was gone. He was wearing nothing but a low-slung towel. If his face was a masterpiece, his body was a weapon. Lean muscle, a chest defined by years of discipline, abs that cut deep shadows into his skin, the sharp V-lines disappearing into the white terry cloth. He glanced at me, didn't say a word. He just knelt on the bed and buried his face between my legs. The sensation hit me like a physical blow. My back arched off the mattress. A tear, purely physiological, a reaction to the overload, slid from the corner of my eye. Elian felt the moisture. He lifted his head, his lips wet and swollen. He leaned in, intending to kiss the tear away. I turned my face to the side. Rejection, cold and absolute. He paused. A humorless, self-deprecating smile ghosted his lips. He used his thumb instead, the rough callus of a surgeon's hand wiping the moisture from my cheek. Does it feel that good? The question hung in the air. A dirty, filthy thing coming from the mouth of a saint. I grabbed his shoulders and shoved him backward. I flipped our positions, pinning him to the mattress. I took what I wanted. I drove him to the edge. His breathing shattered. The veins in his forehead bulged as he fought for control. Octavia, don't torture me. Shut up. I glared down at him, ice in my veins. Who gave you permission to speak my name? Elian flinched. He thought it was a game, a kink. His fingers clawed into the silk sheath, his knuckles turning white. Miss Montgomery, he gasped, correcting himself. Please. I studied his face, the desperation, the heat, liar, acting like a loyal dog. Was he waiting for the right moment to bite? To deliver the killing blow for years of humiliation? I shoved the thought away. I focused on the friction, the sweat, the sound of his breath hitching in his throat. I enjoyed him, fully, without reservation. One last time. He thought he was special? Please. This was a transaction. Money for service. Mutual consent. Nothing more. Chapter 3. Technically, we went to the same high school. I only remember him in flashes. A ghost in the hallway. Walking through the campus with an old backpack, spine steel straight. Elian, top of the class bottom of the food chain. His mother, May, kept them alive by scavenging scrap metal and cans. His father gambled away every cent she bled for. When the cancer hit May, Elian's scholarship money didn't go to books. It went to the hospital. He worked 3 jobs just to keep her Ford dripping. And he still crushed the SATs. Valedictorian. Full ride to the top pre-med program in the country. By then, I was gone. Boarding school in Switzerland. Business degree at Wharton. I returned to the States to take the throne at the Montgomery Group. Elian was a senior in college, but he looked young. I saw him once. A blur in a crowd. He had changed. The scrawny kid was gone. Jawline sharp enough to cut glass. Eyes that held a quiet, devastating intelligence. He was breathtaking. I didn't stop. I had an empire to run. Until the second time. He was delivering research papers to a private VIP lounge for his professor. Wrong place, wrong time. I heard the laughter first. Then the clink of ice and expensive scotch. Damn, a voice slurred. I haven't seen one this pretty in Hollywood. Gus, a predator with a trust fund. He'd broken half a dozen boys before this one. Look at that porcelain skin, Gus sneered, signaling his bodyguards. He looks untouched. Bet he breaks beautifully. I saw them spike his drink. Elian looked up. His eyes locked onto mine. Dark, drowning, a silent plea. Something in my chest twitched. Pity? Maybe. I snapped my fingers at my security team. Get him out. The lights in my villa stayed on all night. My private doctor worked for hours to flush the drugs from his system. When morning broke, I was sitting on the velvet armchair across from the bed, legs crossed, scrolling through emails. Elian stirred. He sat up, blinking against the sunlight. I saved you, I said, not looking up from my tablet. Relax. I didn't touch you. He didn't panic. He didn't scream or cry about the injustice. It was like he expected the world to chew him up. Thank you. His voice was raspy. He looked at me with raw, terrifying sincerity. How can I repay you? Black hair fell messily across his forehead. His skin was pale, almost translucent. He looked broken. Beautiful. A fallen angel sitting in my guest room. An impulse struck me. Elian, 30,000 a month. You belong to me. He froze. What? Not enough? 50,000. I leaned forward, resting my chin on my hand. You know who Gus is? Next time, you won't get lucky. And your mother? Alone in that state-run facility? She's an easy target. His face went white. You're mine, I said, voice flat. And if you're mine, no one touches you. I thought he'd walk. He hesitated for 3 seconds. Then he swung his legs off the bed. I accept, but name your terms, I said. I'm generous. He shook his head. I accept, but I don't want your money. I cocked my head, genuinely curious. You don't want money? Then what do you want from me? He didn't answer. I gave him a black card anyway. $50,000, deposited monthly. I did my homework on him. His father? Found floating in the East River during Elian's senior year of high school. Debts unpaid. Since college, Elian had been hustling. Scholarship. Night shifts. He rented a tiny 2-bedroom apartment in the city just to keep May close. May, deaf, mute, dying. The medical bills were burying him alive. Rumor had it she tried to kill herself last year. To stop being a burden. That was enough backstory for me. I lost interest in the details. I made a phone call. Transferred May to a private suite at Mount Sinai. Paid the bills in full. I bought a penthouse. Handed Elian the key. He moved in obediently. He kept his old, crappy apartment though. A safety net. Or maybe just a place to remember who he really was.